Welcome inside the vault on a Wednesday. It's the 29th of October. So good to be with you guys. It's a Ravens lunch hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. We're getting ready, of course, for Thursday Night Football. It's Ravens at Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium coming up tomorrow. I'll have pregame coverage, as I always do, on my personal channel, and the vault will be live post-game streaming probably around quarter of midnight or so, depending on how the game shakes out. So we look forward to that. We look forward to diving into a number of things today, including the question, or maybe it's a statement, depending on where you guys stand. Is Lamar Jackson out for blood? Emmanuel Acho just straight up thinks that he's out for blood. And we now have clarity on what I needed. I certainly needed clarity yesterday on who actually was behind the purge, the locker room toys purge. Lamar himself spoke about that. And of course, Marlon set it all up, as he usually does, on his podcast. So we'll get into that. After that, Sarah, on the collective last night, Jeff Zaribek of The Athletic, I thought, and you thought, shared some really good insight into the dynamic between Lamar and the team, Lamar and the organization, that we'll revisit. Good lengthy snippet that I think will give some good perspective from the best insider in the game when it comes to Baltimore perspective. And then after that, realistic trades, as fun as it would be to dream, realistic trades that Eric DeCosta can make, Sarah, as we now we're under a week out from the deadline, which is set for November 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern, coming up 6 days from now on Tuesday of next week. So all that and more, it's brought to you today by Wellness Plus Care. But Sarah, you and I came to a decision recently on a longtime subscriber of ours, Taurus. We wanted to provide a little bit of context. I'll throw it over to you for that before we get into today's show.
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions on that, so figured we address it off the top really quickly. So to do that, I just kind of want to back up a little bit. For a very long time, probably for the first two and a half years, we really didn't implement much moderation on our channel. That changed over the off season when we had a live chat person named Angel, who obviously crossed the line and then some in lots of different instances. There wasn't a question of what Angel was saying was wrong. It was more a question of how do we approach it? And we had a pretty open discussion with our live chat about that. And I was resistant to having heavier-handed channel-wide moderation. So my thought was, everybody should use their personal tools and capabilities that YouTube provides to block or mute people and do whatever they want on their end. We got a lot of feedback saying they felt like that was the wrong decision. We took a couple of days to kind of look into that. I reached out to a lot of people to ask about moderation, listen to the feedback online, and then you and I discussed it. And that incident, based off all the feedback we had gotten, changed my mind. And it was the first time in our channel history that we used moderation. But what we did is we decided we would mute rather than block. So I looked it up today. We only have like 4 people that are blocked. It's not even people, 4 spam accounts that are blocked. We've only blocked spam accounts. But since that time of Angel, I think there are about 4 people muted. And what muting does, YouTube calls it hidden. But what muting does is it allows people to still watch the channel and watch the content, but their comments are not seen. So we all know what muting, or in YouTube's case, hidden is called. So that's what we made that change. And we talked as a show and we said, okay, we're going to do this because that is the feedback that we received, but that's going to have to be for everybody. It's going to have to be for longtime listeners. It's new listeners. It's everybody. So that's when it changed. And I think we like muted like a Bills Mafia guy or whatever. And so that kind of takes us up into earlier this week. We felt that a longtime listener, Taurus, said something that crossed the line. And so we felt like it was mute worthy since we've put in this mute kind of policy based off of the feedback that we had received. Now, this obviously wasn't the first time. Before there was a mute policy, there's a history there. I remember once Taurus said something and another user had pushed back. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I know that's not real. He's like, I'm just trying to like get at Sarah. I don't remember what the exact words was, but I'm going to try to make her crack or whatever, but she's a tough cookie. And I ignored all that. I've never engaged with it. It happens pretty frequently. Most of it's just trolling, kind of harmless and whatever. So I've mostly just ignored it. Didn't really want to play with those games. But since we entered the muting policy and what was said earlier this week, we kind of made that decision. Now, the moderation section of the show is evolving. We're always open to feedback like we were with Angel. And so I just want to say two things about that. Number one, if Taurus wants to reach out, he knows how to get a hold of us, email, all that kind of stuff. If he wants to make a case for reinstatement, happy to hear that. But we need to get on the same page, so he's welcome to do that. Based off of feedback, again, people have said they want to see the guidelines or whatever. We added that based off of feedback over the last day today. It's not anything groundbreaking. It's pretty boilerplate stuff that is already rules for YouTube app wide, but we went ahead and added them to our channel. It's like what YouTube already asked us to do. They only allow us to give three guidelines, and they can only be 60 characters each. So it's nothing new. Be civil, don't spam, be respectful. No harassment, no bullying, no personal attacks, stuff like that. Stuff that's been implemented that we've lived by with YouTube anyway. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Ball's in Taurus's court. If he wants to reach out via email, happy to hear from him. Other than that, I'm ready to get into the content.
Very seldom do we start with anything other than football. So we do want to acknowledge those that aren't watching in real time, and also in the audio only audience who may be very confused right now.
Yeah.
We wanted to address it and hopefully everybody understands where we're at on that. And hopefully you guys got some much needed clarity in some cases. So without further ado, it is week 9 of this NFL regular season, and the Ravens, Sarah, obviously remain in must-win mode. But as Jeff noted last night on the collective, man, and you and I, man, we hold him in such high regard, his feel for the organization. That's not often that he's talking about the vibes. And in our pre-show meeting and also on the collective itself, he wanted to talk about the vibes. They are night and day. And I don't know how much said vibes, Sarah, ultimately propels them moving forward. They're going to have to do that on the field, right? The vibes can only go so far once you step in between the lines. But certainly we have to consider where they were a week ago and where they are now, and how their quarterback, Sarah, handled his press conference yesterday. We got some much needed clarity. I know you didn't need any of it. I got some clarity. Why don't you bring us into our Lamar topic?
Well, this is what he said. Obviously, Marlon Humphrey said it was Lamar that took the ping pong table and all the games out of there. And when Lamar was asked about it, he did not stutter. He did not hesitate. He was not ashamed, nor should he be. It's a perfectly fine move as the face of the franchise when your team is losing. So here's what he had to say.
So Kaneko, our head equipment guy, told him to take all the games and ping pong, turn the TVs off. If we could have took the TVs out, they would have been out too. But yeah, we had to focus. I wouldn't say people don't take the job serious. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't feel like it was the time for that. We got a lot of work to do. Keep winning, keep winning, keep winning. Cause we're not gonna have them the rest of the year, so keep winning.
It's not coming back. He said it could come back maybe in the off season or during OTAs or something like that. So yeah, he's like, man, if I could have taken out the TVs, I would have, but they're probably wired into the walls of the locker room and all that kind of stuff. Just absolutely, yeah, owning it, not caring. Absolutely. And Bobby, I think it speaks to, if people ever wonder what kind of influence or power that Lamar Jackson has in that building, and that power comes through influence, I'd say it's pretty high. There's very few people in there that could have said, yeah, we're taking those away with absolutely zero backlash from inside the building. And I haven't heard a single soul complain about it. Even when Marlon Humphrey talked about it, there was no complaints, just no complaints from anybody. And there were complaints when it was once thought that it was the coaches that did it. But now that it's Lamar, they're like, oh, okay, my bad, QB1. Whatever you say goes.
You already know Broussard and some of the folks that have bits related to the Ravens. Nobody really has a bit like Chris, but I know you brought something in on his direct response to this.
Yeah, so there's there's like a few people. Let's start. We'll do Bruce. We'll do Broussard, who's always hilarious. Remember, Broussard liked that the games were taken out, when it first was reported. He didn't care who did it. Then he found out that it was like veteran leadership. And now that he knows that it's Lamar, like Broussard is just having a day.
Brew, your reaction to Lamar being the leader of T7, and are you guaranteeing a dominant Ravens game on Thursday?
It just keeps getting better. I mean, I liked it when I thought it was Harbaugh.
True.
Then I liked it more when I thought it was the veterans. It's Lamar by himself making a unilateral decision. And they all took heed. And look at what it has wrought. The defense is back. Maybe not back to where they will be in a month, because they'll be even further back.
Yeah, further.
But they are back to playing Ravens football. I love this. And yes, I am now, assuming Lamar plays Thursday, yes, blowout on deck.
Ooh, blowout on deck. And now, Emmanuel Acho, who was like really upset that John Harbaugh did it, now he's actually changed his tune. He's giving Lamar Jackson an applause.
Okay.
I'll stand alone.
Okay.
I'll stand alone.
It's
Love
interesting.
this. Love this.
Okay, hold on.
Love
Hold on,
this.
hold on, hold on, hold
Love
on.
it because it's Lamar.
Okay.
Love it 'cause it's
you
Lamar.
were on the other side with James Jones. You said,
Here's why I love this.
okay.
I love it because the player is taking control. Lamar Jackson, he's within the locker room walls. The coaches aren't. Coaches don't walk into the locker room during the practice day. They just walk into the locker room and say, hey, get ready, we're out in 5. And that's usually a strength coach. Lamar Jackson being inside the locker room walls is what makes me love this. If the head coach did it, weak. If the assistant coach did it, weak. But the fact that a player said, hey, these games that y'all have within the locker room for us are a deterrent, get them out of here, that's what makes me love it. The Ravens are not Bashotti's team. The Ravens are Lamar Jackson's team. The players run the team. So player, Lamar Jackson, run the team. But Lamar's like, I can call this shot. And what's crazy, when Marlon Humphrey leaked it before Lamar Jackson said he did it, I was thinking, because Marlon Humphrey's like, well, somebody in the locker room said we can't have ping pong tables. And I instantly went into a locker room. I said, wait a second. Only about 3 people have that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Because whoever said this, no player can fight or no player would fight. Lamar's coming for blood.
Oh, wow.
He's not just coming for blood against the Miami Dolphins. So Miami Dolphins, you already know what it is. Obviously, be weary. He's coming for blood for the rest of that schedule. The next quarterbacks Lamar Jackson plays, if I am not mistaken, he gets Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, he's been up and down all season. I don't think he's had back-to-back good games. He gets J.J. McCarthy, coming off his first start in about a month and a half. I believe he gets Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor. He gets Joe Flacco. Like, that's who Lamar Jackson gets in these next 4 starts.
Yeah.
And it's 4 out of the next 5 starts at minimum. These Ravens can make a run.
All right, so Bobby, Broussard's calling for a blowout against Miami. Acho's saying Lamar's out for blood. Here's the thing. I do think Lamar and the Ravens are going to go on a run. I don't know that has anything to do with these games or toys, though. I feel like it has been overblown for sure. And I think that Lamar has been itching to get back out onto the field. I think he wants to prove, along with everybody else, that they're better than what they've shown so far. So, yeah, I think they're out for blood. But I didn't need games being pulled out of the locker room to tell me that. What about you?
Well, think about where this all stems from now. It was a simple text to his boy, his equipment manager.
Yeah.
And it's since become there's been misinformation. There's been all kinds of different messaging. There's been vague reporting, and it's blown up into this, to your point, overblown story. And so, yeah, I'm with you. What they really need to focus on is complementary football. If there's any rust with Lamar, hopefully getting that out of his system within the opening or 2 drives tomorrow night. He hasn't played since what has it been a month yet? Close to a month, somewhere around there, Kansas City game. And protecting the football and everything that goes into running the football effectively, being aggressive inside the 20 in the red zone. We know that's an area that Todd Monken's offense has really mightily struggled, particularly throughout that 4-game losing streak, a couple of which were without Lamar. And so, yeah, I think it's a nice storyline. that he's out for blood. And I do believe that because of numbers like these, that Lamar will get back to his previous self, as we've seen for flashes this season prior to him going down with that hamstring, like opening night against the Bills. But I tend to agree with you on where this has gone to. The levels
Definitely overblown.
Yeah.
Right. And like, it's just so funny that it's like he's out for blood. He's going to go for a run because these numbers right here, this is typical Lamar.
Yeah.
Lamar, when he went down with that hamstring injury, was leading the league in touchdowns and had and leading the league in touchdown to interception ratio. He was leading the league with the passer rating. Like he's out for blood because his team is down 2-5. And he's healthy enough to play. And that is what he kind of talked about yesterday. He was asked, like, how do you feel with that hamstring now? And he says, quote, "It feels good. I feel great right now. Shout out to the training staff." And then he was asked, well, do you feel 100? He's like, yeah, it feels good. I don't know that he was like, yeah, I'm 100%. Like, this is what players have to say. I mean, if you're cleared, you're cleared. There's going to be rust. Of course, there has to be. We should expect it. He doesn't want to, like, expect it. He can't go in there being like, hey guys, just so you know, I'm going to be rusty. I haven't played in 4 weeks. So just so you know, like it's going to be a little bit tough for me. No, he's got to have a fighter mentality and be like, no, none of that matters. He also was asked, well, who made the decision, right? Who made the decision that you weren't going to play last week? And he said, well, it's my body. It's my body, right? He goes, nobody knows how my body feels except for me. Insinuating I make that decision. Like, yeah, I work with trainers. I tell the coaches stuff like that. He's like, but who else can decide whether I'm healthy enough to play? That's me. So he made that decision. And I think that's where like Jeff's quote kind of comes in, talking about the relationship between these two. Cause there were lots of like tweets like Nick Wright acting like the Ravens, like we're trying to pressure him into playing. It's like, are you just waking up now to who Lamar is? He can't be pressured in anything. The Ravens know that. So, but there's been lots of questions over the last 4 weeks of like, what is their relationship like? How do they get along? Do you have anything to say before we play, Jeff?
Just sort of a salute to Sam, who was a super chat donor last night and a viewer on the collective who inspired this more than 4-minute snippet that we're about to run right now. And, when you get Jeff talking off script, it's when he's at his best because he knows this organization inside and out. And he's watched this unfold over the last not only few weeks between, and of course, when I say watch, it's not like it's a front row seat, but he's in the building and he has relationships all throughout this organization. He's also been on the beat throughout Lamar's entire career. So he has a feel for what, again, the dynamic is between Lamar and the organization that ultimately led to last week and everything else that's taken place throughout Lamar's storied career in Baltimore, which, of course, dates back to 2018. So here is a snippet last night from the collective, Jeff Zrebiec of The Athletic.
Had a good idea coming out of bye week that Monday, and when Lamar Jackson said he couldn't practice, that he wasn't going to play. I think they knew that 2 games in 5 days was always going to be an issue. I think to Lamar it was an issue, not feeling 100%. How am I going to play 2 games in 5 days? So, but they didn't know he was fully out because, Lamar can be mercurial a little bit, right? And he, they wanted to keep the light on in case Lamar all of a sudden on a Friday or a Saturday came in and said, you know what? I'm ready to go. I'm sick of this. I felt good enough when I was out there. I'm ready to go. And he deserves the right to make that call. He's a 2-time MVP. He's the face of your franchise. You keep the light on as long as possible for Lamar Jackson to play. And that's what the Ravens were doing. The listing him as limited, I honestly don't think they intentionally tried to deceive the Bears because it's stupid. The Bears were preparing for Lamar Jackson anyway. They did not prepare for him any different if he was full in practice or limited in practice on Friday. They're still preparing for him to play that game. Anyone and everybody said for going on even before the bye, going into the bye, that he was going to come back and play the Bears. So I don't think the Ravens felt like they were doing any edge. It was just a mistake. And they either forgot the rule that if you were like Lamar participated in the whole practice, there was no limitations on him, but he ran the scout team. And if you're a starting quarterback, you're running a scout team, you can't be considered full. You need to be considered full. You need to do what you normally do as part of your role. And what Lamar Jackson normally does is run the offense, right? In the first team offense. So that's where they ran a foul. Ian Rappaport's story on Saturday, where he said that he was only running a scout team, that got the league's attention. The Ravens had to act from there, and they had to make the change, and they're going to face discipline, whether it's a fine. They're already probably some embarrassment. I can't imagine Steve Bisciotti's too pleased, not only with the check he's probably going to have to write, but the other potential ramifications. But that is what it is. The relationship with Lamar, we could do a whole story on. We could do a whole show on, guys. I mean, there's so many, there's so many things about that we could bring up, and I don't want to hijack the whole show on it. I think the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are fine. They have a fine relationship. I think a lot of Lamar's relationships are on his terms, and I think one of the things that makes Lamar so brilliant as a player is sort of the individuality and the belief in himself and how he does things. And that also makes it challenging at times to communicate. And he believes in a certain way of doing things. He doesn't sway from that. They have got him here. His tight inner circle, his mom, his family, they are all in on this. And Lamar is frankly not going to be told otherwise by other people. That's just how he's always been. So, there's so much said and written about this while the thing was going on. I think there was a guy who wrote, the bigger story here is the Ravens tried to push Lamar to play and he pushed back. Well, I'm not buying that for 1 second, because the Ravens of all people know you're not going to force Lamar Jackson to do anything. When his mind's made up, he's not doing it. So good luck with that. They're smart enough to know you're not going to push him into doing anything. The second part of it is Cole, one of your buddies, and Bobby, you may be buddies with him too. Spencer Schultz had a really couple interesting tweets about communication with Lamar and how the Ravens are scared to communicate with him. I think he made some good points. I wouldn't necessarily say they're scared to communicate with him, but I think it's always been a challenge communicating. And I just think that's what it is with a player who doesn't have an agent, who has this firm belief in himself, who is very unique, very deliberate with everything that he does. And I think that's led to some challenges. And yes, I think at times, the Ravens walk on eggshells around Lamar Jackson. They don't, they want Lamar Jackson happy. They want him engaged. They want him happy with how things are going, believing in everything. They don't want him pissed off. They don't want him to withdraw from the team and to be carrying on and not happy. A happy Lamar is a productive Lamar, and that means a productive Ravens winning team on the field. So I think there's a push-pull there and how much they ask, how much they expect, and all that. Again, it's complicated, fellas, and I could talk about this for an hour. But yeah, I think at some, they really walk on eggshells at times and not wanting to, give up anything that he's not going to be happy about or put him in a tough situation. And sometimes in turn, that leads to them being in a tough situation. And I think we saw that a little bit this past week with the injury report, but I don't think they were forcing him to do anything. I think they knew he likely wasn't going to play, but they were also giving him every opportunity to practice as much as he wanted and to get back and to give him an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go Sunday. Because if he even came to them Saturday morning at that walkthrough on Saturday and said, I'm ready to go, guys, he's starting quarterback Saturday, even though he hadn't taken he's starting quarterback Sunday, even though he hadn't taken a first-team rep all week.
All right, Bobby, I was going to say, you were there live. There's lots to unpack there. What stands out to you the most?
I just think it's fascinating. It's so level-headed there from Jeff. Sometimes and I don't think there was nothing critical in there. No. I think some people are quick to jump down folks' throats when it comes to anything that may be viewed in their minds as criticism of Lamar. That was just straight up feel, reporting, experience, and Jeff's unfiltered thoughts after 8 years of covering one of the most unique players in the history of this league. And so I view it as insightful, transparent, and real. That's how I view that. And I'm talking about a couple different specific snippets. Lamar's relationships tend to be on his terms. Then again, he and the Ravens are fine, but it's on his terms.
Right.
And then, of course, it's hard not to, perk up when you hear the term walking on eggshells.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that's something that stood out to you when you were watching us last night or in the aftermath of our show. And Jeff essentially saying, hey, there are times where the Ravens, they do feel like they're walking on eggshells around Lamar. And some of that, look, a lot of what we're talking about right now here, by the way, is earned. Lamar's earned the right to command himself in the manner that he's chosen to do, extremely professionally and extremely privately now through 8 years. That doesn't mean it doesn't come with challenges, though, at times, particularly when it comes to the 2022 negotiation. And by the way, we could be heading towards a really similar offseason over the next few months once this season wraps up. So those are my thoughts on it. I just thought it was extremely level-headed from Jeff. I really appreciated the insight, and hopefully it clears a lot of things up for folks. And most importantly, though, those that immediately are looking for reasons to jump after and jump down, Lamar critics, so to speak. I hope you look at it in at least consider the idea that was real right there, and that there was no agenda from Jeff whatsoever in that commentary.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting. There's kind of two parts. There was the part of like why they like quote unquote left the light on just in case Lamar was like, yeah, okay, I'll go. But there was a tone difference from John Harbaugh before the bye and after the bye. He's like, oh, I'm leaning into it a lot. It'll be great when we get our quarterback, this and that. And then he comes back and he's like, stone face again. It's like, uh-oh, his hope is gone. So when Jeff says like, that he thinks that they knew early on, but just in case for leaving the light on. And again, I agree with Jeff, like not just Lamar, but all of these guys have a right to speak up for themselves and how their bodies are feeling. And if he didn't feel like he could be Lamar 2 times in 5 days, coming off of 4 weeks of rehabbing a hamstring, Lamar of all people has earned that right. But even a practice squad guy earns that right because you're the only player that really can say that. And so Lamar, I feel like made it pretty clear that he made that decision and the Ravens adjusted appropriately. And like I said yesterday, I think in retrospect, because they won, it was a good thing for the Ravens to know that they could rally and actually get a win without him, and they probably would have won that game more decisively if he was there, if they had played the way they did. But there's too many times where, it does feel like they're leaning on Lamar to save the day. And they had to band together and do that. But I think Lamar didn't play because Lamar didn't feel like his body was right to do that in 2 days or 2 games in 5 days. In terms of the relationship, I'll say this, Bobby, like, I say this with almost all my friendships, my marriage, everything. The best friendships or a marriage or relationship you can have, in my view, is somebody who you can contend with, if that makes sense. Somebody who is both listens, but also challenges. It's somebody who can make you better and you can make them better. It's hard to have respect for anybody in a relationship that just gets walked all over. It's also hard to have a relationship with anybody that does walking over and doesn't listen at all. And so when Jeff says that their relationship is fine and that it's complex and that Lamar is unique in that he's extremely private but he is always professional. I've never really seen Lamar come to the podium and say something that's anything unreasonable. Like, we'll get to this in a minute, but he's asked about Todd Monken. How many times have you heard him throw a teammate under the bus or a coach under the bus? Never. He never does that. When you talk about anonymous sources, the first person I can check off the list is Lamar. Lamar's not speaking to the media in broad daylight or behind the scenes. Like, he has no interest in that kind of stuff. Lamar is an ultimate team player. But as Jeff said, you're also not going to like force Lamar to do anything. And I think he's somebody to be in a business partnership with as he is somebody to contend with. And the Ravens are somebody to contend with. John Harbaugh is, Eric DeCosta is. You're not worth your salt if you're not somebody that's like worth contending with. And in my view, he does it in mostly great ways. And I'm sure I'm not behind the scenes. I'm sure like everybody has, faults and weaknesses and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm sure neither Lamar nor EDC nor John are perfect all the time. But at the end of the day, I think he's right. I think they're fine. And anybody else on the outside that continues to try to divide them, I just don't think that's who this group of men are.
The only time I can think about Lamar, and it was indirect, the only time he ever threw anybody under the bus, and it was totally reasonable and factual, was when, do you remember, of course I forget the opponent, but do you remember when he said that the opponent essentially knew the plays that we were running under the Greg Roman era?
Yeah, he did.
When
he
was
did
that?
say that? You're right.
That's the only thing that just popped into my mind
Yeah.
when you said he's never thrown anybody on the bus. And again, it was indirectly. And so other than that, you're not kidding. I mean, the amount of times with the cape on that he's had to wear.
The fact that he could throw people under the bus much more often and he doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, the guys, as I think we've already mentioned this week, he's gone to bat multiple times in the offseason for Fa'alele.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was asked directly about him. He didn't go out of his way to talk about it, but actually he did once this offseason. Anyway, the point is he handles a lot of his business
the way it should be, face to face,
privately. Well, or that.
Yeah.
So
now we have more to get to from Lamar's presser, but we're 30 minutes in. Should we do some super chats?
I think
we're going to read.
We certainly need to. We appreciate you guys for being with us on this Wednesday. Over 2,600 concurrents at the moment. Hang in. Like the video if you could on the way in. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. We'll get to more super chats in just a bit. And as promised, it's time to talk about Wellness Plus Care. Brenda Boggs and her team continue to support the show, and we are so appreciative and grateful that we have her. Because, Sarah, I feel like last week's messaging doesn't necessarily suffice today, right? The angle that I took was like, hey, health and wellness is everything right now. Maybe you guys got to go take care of yourselves given the 1-5 start. Well, the beauty of it is you could still go take care of yourself, but just know maybe it's not as absolutely necessary right now because there's new life, or at least
there's a win.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of you guys, I'm sure, are breathing new life. But look, for those of you that are in the Maryland area, Wellness Plus Care, we would love for you to go check them out. They are located in Hunt Valley, Maryland, and they are a full-service clinic focused on hormone therapy, medical weight loss, skin rejuvenation, IV therapy, peptide therapy, and genetic testing. Every care plan is personalized, so each patient that Brenda Boggs and her team work with, you get the same provider. You're not just a number within the system. Brenda's the owner and medical director of Wellness Plus Care. She's a family nurse practitioner with over 34 years of patient care experience. She's just a total wealth of knowledge. And we got a couple different opportunities for VAULTRONs that are right at your fingertips if you're interested. If you call them up at 410-202-3863 or take a visit to Hunt Valley and you mention the Vault, here's what's available to you. One, you can get 20% off your first testosterone treatment. And two, tirzepatide. That is GLP-1. Your first week, they're going to give you a rate of $40 for your first week. You can try it out, see if it's the right fit for you. Again, 410-202-3863. And just to give you a comparison, normally the cost for GLP-1 or tirzepatide for the first month, the standard dose runs you $235. And Brenda and her team are willing to give it to you for $40 for that opening week to see if there's the right fit for you. And Sarah, as we always say every Wednesday, you go on to the show notes or pinned comment if you're watching in real time right now where we have the direct link to the site. It is overwhelming how much you can familiarize yourself with what's at stake and what's there for the taking at Wellness Plus Care. I know you continue to go and sift around there in your free time from time to time too.
It's that skin rejuvenation that I have my eye on.
You know it.
Where's the red light therapy? Let's go in there. What's that?
All right. So This is my first time looking at this specific
Yeah.
part of the site.
Fight
Red and
skin,
near.
aging, wrinkles, and cellulite. Lose fat. Rid your body of chronic inflammation. Fight the oxidative damage that drives aging. Increase strength, endurance, and muscle mass. Yes, please. Decrease pain. I don't have any, but yes to those that feel it.
Okay.
Combat hair loss.
Oh, I should have gone there 2 years ago.
Anyway, the immune conditions, combat those, optimize brain function and mood, overcome fatigue. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And look, I mean, it's just so detail oriented, and there are some actual real time photos for you so you can get a visual. That was under the more, by the way, where you also have IV cocktail therapy, Age Jet. We've talked about that in recent weeks. Gentle Max Pro Plus, chemical peels. You can meet the team. I mean, it's a really professionally. There she is. There's Brenda. So yeah, she and her team, super professional. They all know what's going on. And we want to say thank you to them for working with us in season. You can go get started today and cash in on those Vault incentives that are exclusive to Vaultrons by clicking on the link that we have included in the show notes and also as a pinned comment in our live chat. Off to Super Chats we go. We appreciate you guys for being with us on this Wednesday. We addressed this off the top. Jason wanted us to well earlier today, this morning. He says, Bobby and Sarah, what occurred yesterday is unacceptable. Douglas H. Brown Sr. says, Sarah?
By the way, Sari says, I agree with the flock. We love the S. librarian look with the glasses. Well, that's good. I always have to put them on when we're doing Super Chats.
I love it.
Love it, Douglas. Appreciate you.
It was almost right on cue because he had just thrown them on.
So true.
Eric Hill is with us today. And boy, are we glad to see his name here. He's gifted 20 channel Vaultrons. Eric, you are the man. And he also has gifted a $100 Super Chat. That's the red banner. And EH writes, in case no one tells you today they love you, just know that I do. Condolences to Jets Nation for the loss of Nick Mangold. On another note, I miss everyone as well. I just won a signed Mangold jersey on the Jake Asman channel.
What?
Hashtag stop the 22 per day. Veterans, that's the veteran suicide number that we've talked about for months now with Eric, who's educated us. Hashtag just be respectful. But how about Jake dialing it up? That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Definitely. We talked about it earlier in the week. Horrific news. He was fighting kidney disease, was Nick Mangold, the former Jets offensive lineman, gone at 41. Terrible. But Eric, I finally caught up on the emails. You are the man. We've been thinking about you nonstop. I know this live chat agrees. Appreciate you, brother. Maramilov for EH and continued health in the right direction, my man. You are the dude.
Eric, I hope this means they're feeling better. So glad to see you back. I hope all is well and you're working on your gazillion different business ideas because I know you're going to launch them and they're just going to take off.
Thanks, Eric. Dozy dope for you, partner.
He says, y'all don't feel like the games take away from film study? Oh, meaning the games inside the locker room?
Yeah. Sean Carter writes, is it just me or does Sarah have a glow about her today? We can't take the Fins lightly tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if LJ's a last-minute decision. He says he's playing. I hope not. He's our engine. Go Ravens. Appreciate you, Sean. And that brings us to Shelly. And the one edit Shelly has in here is that she meant AFC North and not NFC North. This one's for you.
All right, Shelly, she says, Bruce Arians, Bucs ex-head coach, said he believes 3 of the 4 AFC, is that what you meant? AFC North head coaches may be on the unemployment line at the end of the season. Thoughts? Okay, so, I mean, 3 of the 4, who's the one that's safe? Because maybe Mike Tomlin is, just because that's how the Steelers roll. But obviously fans in Pittsburgh have been calling for a change there just because they're not satisfied with just winning seasons. That's also obviously important, but then some. Then the Bengals, I think, perpetually underperform. That head coach to say, well, my franchise quarterback's injured frequently. The Browns are going nowhere. And then we know about everything in Baltimore. So I'm curious who Bruce said was the safe one.
At what point is a franchise like Cleveland going to lean into some form of stability?
Yeah.
Like, is Kevin Stefanski the real issue there, or should he be given a chance to have a quarterback of his own? Because day 3 picks don't count in that.
Yeah.
Give him a franchise quarterback. And maybe, look, they still need to evaluate Shador with regular season football. We'll see what happens. Dylan struggling since he's taken over when they traded Joe Flacco. Kenny Pickett's no longer with the organization, and Snoop is no longer there. Give him an opportunity to actually have, instead of inheriting the disaster that Deshaun Watson's become, give him a legitimate franchise quarterback. You know, these organizations sometimes, Sarah, they undergo so much change and make these knee-jerk decisions that all of a sudden you're starting over. It's no guarantee that Mike Vrabel is going to walk into your building and turn around your franchise, which he has so far in New England the first half of this season. There's no guarantee. I'd like to see a guy like Kevin Stefanski get more chances at longevity.
Well, I will say this. He's probably made it longer than a lot of coaches. He's been there since 2020. So this is his fifth season.
Yeah.
So he's bucked the trend, that's for sure.
And then, you know, look, I don't mean to like look out for all these guys, but Zach Taylor, you're coaching without your franchise quarterback pretty much the entire year. How are they going to evaluate?
But even with
They've
his franchise quarterback, they start slow a lot.
They start on an
Last
annual
year,
basis, they start slow.
Yeah.
Several years prior to this year. Then you lose Burrow. The defense was historically bad last year, which was under Lou Anarumo. But you're the head coach. You have to answer to that. We'll see. If it's the hottest seat among all four, if that's Zach Taylor, I can probably get behind that. I think we know Tomlin and Harbaugh are relatively safe. Asmodeus Thanato says, another benefit for LJ8 is that he gets to see how the team would look like post-bye. He has time to adjust to make up for lingering team weaknesses and stay healthy. Macta is here with us.
Macta says she met Mrs. EDC after the game on Sunday and had a nice little chat with her. She gave me the biggest hug. Such a sweetheart. All right, back to work I go. I'll listen in after work. Have a blessed day. I love that. Mrs. EDC is heartwarming. She just is warm, is the adjective that comes to mind when I think of her.
I've been thinking about her a lot, often, just being that she's been transparent about, you know, the health battles that her mom is currently fighting.
Yeah.
And I think she probably needed that Twitter cleanse. I think a lot of people maybe misinterpreted the deactivation, which I think is temporary, on Twitter for it being like related to the Ravens season. I think it has everything to do with what's going on at home. So continued best wishes to the DaCosta family. Sean Carter writes, I've been gone for 3 weeks and I was just informed I wasn't supposed to make a nice comment about Sarah. My apologies, Sarah. Go Ravens. Capybara for you.
That's where we're at. Okay. Capybara says, phenomenal coverage as always. Thanks, Bobby and Sarah. If you're EDC, what's a blockbuster trade you'd make before the deadline? I want someone who can replace Beeks. God bless him. Green is rising with Isaac's return looming. We are actually going to talk about trades. We've got a whole section coming up on trades. We'll finish up with Lamar and then head over to trades.
You know it. D. Willie, too, celebrating 4 months of channel membership with us. And D. Willie writes, the Lord gives the heaviest loads to the strongest shoulders. Come on now. I'm going to go restart this. D. Willie, too, says, the Lord gives the heaviest loads to the strongest soldiers. Can't wait to see us bounce back. Love the duality of your opinions. Shout out to you both. I like that super chat. I couldn't get through it, but I like it. Thank you. Thing is here.
It was just so good that you almost couldn't get it out. Sea King says, just got my quote Fire Harbaugh shirt from Chat Sports. Okay, I'm sure you could buy shirts with almost anything written on it. It doesn't surprise me that that's begun.
Correct.
Or maybe began a long time ago. Who knows?
Laney lately also jumping ahead to our next topic, and she says, any truth to the rumors that the Ravens are considering signing Calais Campbell to help bolster the defense? That will be included in our trade deadline chatter. Nagasaki 20 for you.
Good point here. Cleveland had Baker and ran him out of town. So they had a quarterback. Deal with the consequences.
They completely gave up on Baker. Yep. And now Baker.
For Deshaun Watson. Whoa. How much did it set the franchise back for that one single decision? Watson over Baker.
And what's Baker been doing ever since? Particularly for the majority. I know Carolina did not work out well in his favor as it's been for most quarterbacks that have shown up there in recent years. Just ask Bryce Young about that. I know he hasn't been perfect, but that's a challenge down there if you're a Panthers fan. But look at what he's doing. I mean, he found himself in an organization that's stable. You've got great talent around you. And he's been balling out. Just a couple weeks ago, the guy was an MVP candidate in Tampa Bay right up the road. Eric Hill has gifted 10 channel memberships. Appreciate you, EH, for being back with us, man. Again, want to reiterate, seeing your name in this chat gets us both fired up. So, Eric Hill, a 10 spot. That's a meatloaf for EH, my man.
It's 30 total. It looks like we're starting to get green in the live chat again. A lot of green font.
Run it. So we had a lot to get to in the Lamar section. So let's revisit that before we do turn a page to all things trade deadline, which is 6 days away. Over 3,100 concurrents with us right now. We appreciate you guys. Let's talk about Todd Monken, Sarah, and what Lamar had to say in defense of his OC.
Yeah, obviously we've covered here the reports of anonymous players kind of calling him out. And so when Lamar was at the podium for the first time since those reports came out, he was asked about the internal frustration that potentially could be there. And he was asked straight up, Lamar, do you have faith in Todd? He said, yeah, man, we've been winning all these games over the years with him. It's been about 3 years. The start of a slow season, I feel like everybody plays a part in their own way. You can't put that on one person. So, he's absolutely right. Obviously, fumbling has been an issue. Sometimes offensive line protection has been an issue. Also with Todd Monken at red zone and short distance plays have been an issue. But to put all that on Monken would be wrong. And Lamar's always good at helping us see that big picture.
A former insider perspective, who's now an outsider, I thought gave some good context into how this relationship right here is viewed. It's Anthony Weaver. He's a former assistant. He's a former Raven. He worked under John Harbaugh as recently as the historic, from a defensive perspective, 2023 regular season. And Anthony had a coordinator. He's now the DC, by the way, of the Miami Dolphins. I think a lot of you know that. He left after the 23 season. Certainly was a candidate, Sarah, for DC and Baltimore. We know that staff got purged, as most do when you go to the AFC Championship and have that kind of historic season. Anthony goes to Miami, just a couple of years removed from being in Baltimore, and he was asked this question yesterday.
Had some unique views of Lamar Jackson. Played against him his first MVP season. You were on staff with him. I'm curious, how has he grown as a passer, but then also with the addition of Derrick Henry, just how has that improved him as a runner?
Yeah, he's such a special talent, right? And I think his skill set now paired with what Todd Monken has brought from just a schematic standpoint, it's the perfect mesh, right? Because it allows him to utilize all his strengths. He can have a little bit more control of the huddle, kind of check in and out of some concepts, and then obviously he can pull the ball down and run at any particular point, whether it's designed or not. So I think the partnership and marriage between him and Monk has been successful, and you've seen the results of all that.
First of all, Sarah, from a human side, from a human standpoint, I hope he gets a head coaching opportunity one day. Anthony Weaver deserves a shot at running his own team. Also, really good perspective there from somebody that went up against Todd Monken and Lamar for that 2023 season in practice. Quote, he's such a special talent. I think his skill set, now paired with what Todd Monken has brought from a schematic standpoint, is the perfect mesh. It allows him to utilize all his strengths. He goes on to talk about some of the differences between the Giro-led offense and the Todd Monken-led offense, which we've talked about, which has given Lamar a more creative freedom at the line of scrimmage and autonomy. He then goes on to say, I think the partnership and marriage between him and Monk has been successful, and you've seen the results of that. We'll see what the results are from the familiarity standpoint coming up tomorrow night, Sarah, but you only are what your players are to a certain extent, and his players, meaning Anthony's defensively, do not rank all that well statistically so far through 8 games. They're 2-6. So the 23rd overall ranked defense, they're allowing over 344 yards per game. They're giving up 145 rushing yards per game. Those two statistics rank 23rd and 28th respectively league-wide. They're 11th against the pass, but still giving up close to 200. and they're 26th in scoring.
Mm.
So, you can talk about some of the offensive deficiencies. Tua's had his struggles. He's called out certain members of the team. It's gotten noisy from a media coverage standpoint down there in South Florida. They're without Tyreek. They're without Darren Waller. But how much can familiarity lead the Dolphins to success tomorrow night? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, specifically to his quote here about, he called it a perfect mesh. Probably a little bit of hyperbole, but I think he's giving a sentiment that's correct. Just thinking back to the Greg Roman years and what was always so nice about the addition of Todd Monken was giving the keys of the car to Lamar more. And Anthony Weaver is pointing that out, right? That it allows him to make more changes at the line, have that bigger voice, be able to make the changes based off of what he's seeing on the defense. And so it's great for an offensive coordinator to call a play, but he's guessing before the defense is out there. And Lamar can make those changes. And he also, we just go back to the Steve Young rant about how he was sick and tired of people saying that Lamar Jackson couldn't be a great passer, or a sophisticated passer was the adjective he used. And he's like, everybody complains that he's not a sophisticated passer, but the Ravens aren't giving him a chance to. And we've had Steve Young on the show since then. And Steve has no more complaints about that and felt like Todd Monken was able to turn that around. So I do like the marriage. Lamar seemingly still likes the marriage, pointing out of how much they've won together. That doesn't mean that Todd Monken can't change and get better, can't be predictable, all that kind of stuff. He's got to go with the game plan that they all agreed on going into the game, and he's got to have a better feel for who has the hot hand. He's been openly criticized for that. He responded in Chicago. Hopefully that response continues. But if we're looking at a big picture, I think Anthony Weaver nails it. I've liked the marriage with Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken.
There was a marriage between the game plan and Tyler Huntley on Sunday, which led to a win over Chicago. And Lamar was asked about what it was like watching Snoop. He says, quote, "I got a thrill out of it. I was ecstatic on the sideline just to see my guy do what he do. I played against him in high school twice. We've talked about that over the years. Then I watched him in college as well, and he always did good. So I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to pull a win out on Sunday. And as locked in as you will ever see was Lamar. This photo right here, courtesy of the Baltimore Sun, from one of their many sidelined interactions, Sarah, in what really was a collective effort. T. Martin, highly involved as the quarterback's coach. And Snoop was steering the ship. And Todd Monken was calling the shots. And Snoop was executing along with his group. They got the ball out of his hand quickly. He was a little loosey-goosey with the ball early for my liking. But ultimately, it's a clean game turnovers-wise. They get the much-needed takeaway from Nate Wiggins. Snoop just took what the defense gave him. And as a result, it's a great win for him, knowing that he put that out on tape moving forward. I mean, think about that. That might be his last shot until this upcoming offseason. And so knowing that's the case, you certainly view him as a coveted QB2, I would think, around the league.
Absolutely. And Bobby, more good news. I think that sums up, some of the bigger points from Lamar Jackson's press conferences. More good news. I mean, it just feels like suddenly we're in this era of good news and we're just leaning into it. But everybody on the 53-man roster was at practice yesterday. And on top of it, 4 of the 5 people that are listed were full. And I think everybody knows what the definition of full participation means now. So I'm assuming everybody's at their regular roles. The only person that was limited is Ronnie Stanley, which is important. We know we saw him leave the game and come back. John Harbaugh said earlier he feels like, he's going to be good to go on Thursday. And obviously this doesn't count people that are on IR. There's Broderick Washington. There's obviously Nnamdi Madubuike. And Bobby, that might be a good transition pretty soon into some of these trades, because the Ravens have found themselves rather thin now John Harbaugh said yesterday that Washington's going to have surgery.
Yeah.
So nothing's been declared that he won't come back at all. But if he's going to have surgery, it's going to at least be for an extended period of time. Nnamdi's already down. And it's another reason why Eric DeCosta is going to have to address the defensive line.
Yeah, it's wild how thin they've become. You hate it for Nnamdi. You hate it for all of them. I mean, it's terrible. They've gotten to this point. Tavius has a broken foot. To your point, Broderick Washington, who knows? I mean, is that salvageable in season? No clue what his timeline will be. They're being really careful and tight-lipped with Nnamdi for obvious reasons, which is ominous, but needed and necessary, and it's the right thing to do, whether HIPAA or not. Like, that's the right thing to do when you have that kind of severity, one would think, with the neck. So in a decision that clearly looms for Nnamdi, Sarah, because of the fact that they've delayed the procedure that he has to have. I would assume he has to have a procedure. So yeah, why don't we talk about Carl Lawson, go to some super chats, and then enter ourselves into our trade deadline topic.
Right. Well, it's talking about all those injuries, including Davis Robinson. Of course, John Harbaugh on last Friday, he was there for a walkthrough. Carl Lawson, that's it. It was a walkthrough, which is why I wish they were able to get that done sooner in the bye week. But I mean, who knows what was happening on the back end with agents and all that kind of stuff. So could he be ready this Thursday? John Harbaugh wasn't quite ready to go there. He says he looks good. We were just talking to him about learning the defense, and he felt like he's picking it up quickly. But that decision on whether he'll play hasn't been made quite yet. That's something that we're still talking about. So here's the other problem, Bobby, is they had a walkthrough on Monday. So he was there for a walkthrough on Friday. He was there for a walkthrough on Monday. It's a short week. So they have today. What day is it? I've lost. Okay. So they had Tuesday and Wednesday. And actually Wednesday they're traveling. So the signing happened at one of the most inopportune times in terms of getting acclimated to this defense. So the Ravens badly need him, but they don't badly need somebody that doesn't quite know the defense just yet. So I would venture to say, of course, after the 10-day break, he'd be ready to go after that. I just think it'd be pretty tight to have him ready by Thursday night.
It does kind of feel like a fat chance given some of that context. And then the elephant in the room is that he hasn't played a regular season snap since January for Dallas. Whereas Alohi was playing 6 games or whatever it was with the Chargers. And then he immediately takes that red eye over to Baltimore, learns somewhat of a similar defense, because they use Derwin James, similar to the way that the Ravens use Kyle Hamilton, and two are just exceptional. Both those guys are just insanely exceptional players. And then it certainly doesn't hurt that Kyle is his former teammate, and they're going to be working together kind of synonymously within the confines of Zach Orr's defensive scheme. So it does. The more and more you think about it, it feels like a tall ask, doesn't it? For Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe he can do it, but I'm not expecting it.
Hope to be wrong on the intuition, but they need whatever he can give them. They so desperately need prior to the deadline. John R. is celebrating 5 months of channel membership. And John writes, hello, Sarah and Bobby and Tron family. Let's go Ravens. Hashtag LJ8 is great. John, you're great. Douglas H. Brown Sr. is in the house.
Says, by the way, I made a $10 super chat earlier today. Dang, it didn't populate for us. The first one we got was from Jason Zarotniak.
Interesting. All right, you go ahead and give him some love for his 10 spot coming up, and then go to EB. And I'm going to go ahead and do a major scroll job all the way up to C. All right.
Okay. So wait, you want me to move on to this? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Douglas H. did that $10 one, did another $5 one earlier. Then we just read a $5 one, and now he's gifting 10 memberships for VAULTRONs out there. So 10 times 5 is 50. Thank you, Douglas H. I love seeing this chat get greener by the moment with all these green font names. And then finally, Extra Butter says, whether we go all the way or get booted, Harbs has had more than enough bites at the apple. Pack your stuff and get your arse out of Baltimore, he says. Enough is enough. 100 emoji and then double exclamation point emoji. Well, he's taking my analogy for sure. Lots of bites of the apple. Did you find it?
EB is one of my favorite callers on my channel because he's often behind an Amazon truck wheel. And while I don't condone FaceTiming into StreamYard programs while driving, he often is stationary, which you appreciate. But he always comes in hot. I love the guy. He cracks me up. You're the man, EB. Thank you for the super chat. And Douglas, if you could, please please just copy and paste whatever you had, because it's not populating and there's 1,000+ comments that are in our chat today. So I just can't quite get up there. But we appreciate you. I'm sure it's there for whatever reason. StreamYard.
And if you want to repeat it, Douglas H, without a super chat to it, we can star it and read that.
Well, that's what I meant. Oh
yeah. Okay,
yeah, we don't expect. Yeah. Please don't. Do it. Dial it up just to dial up another $10 one. We believe you. And sometimes StreamYard gets wonky with starred versus non-starred. So anyway, we appreciate you guys for being with us. Hour number 2 here on a Wednesday, no media availability today because we're leading into a short week. It's Dolphins Ravens tomorrow night. I'll have pregame coverage in the 7 o'clock hour leading into primetime football. And then Sarah and I will be live inside the vault as we always are, typically right around midnight or hopefully before. All depends on obviously the flow of the game. So that's what we have coming up. And speaking of coming up, 6 days from now, the NFL trade deadline is set. It's November 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern, Sarah. And the next step to this puzzle, the next step to digging the Ravens and themselves, really the Ravens digging themselves out of the hole that they've built, is winning tomorrow night. That'll propel this front office, not like it needs any motivation to do so, but that'll give the front office what it needs just based on what's the right word for it? Strategy? Go win and put your front office in a position to go get a guy or maybe even plural guys. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Eric DeCosta, Sarah, you already know, as he's done a couple times throughout his tenure, maybe, just maybe, this is another year where he brings in a guy, a Marcus Peters, a Roquan Smith, i.e. 2019, 2022. Jeff Zaribek on The Athletic recently took a look at a few different things in his latest. And it basically breaks it down into 3 different categories, Sarah. It's right player, right price.
Mm-hmm.
It's keep dreaming. And it's also like, hey, the second category was like, would this even be enough of an upgrade, essentially? So We're going to get into the more realistic side of things just for the purpose of this exercise. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, so just off the top where he says like the Ravens are more likely to add than subtract before the trade deadline, like in years past, that was never even a statement that needed to be made, right? But at this point, if the Ravens are able to win Thursday night, which is tomorrow night at this point, this week is flying into Thursday, then all of a sudden you're 3-5 for sure. And you look at the rest of the AFC North, you for sure are going to want to add rather than subtract, especially if you have faith that you're turning things around in defense and Lamar Jackson's going to come back. So he started off with, as you mentioned, we'll start with this list first, just some names that he has. And maybe each of us will take like one that we kind of feel like we like. Okay. So this one is right player, right price. He's got 4 listed, and then you let me know which one you like the best. There's Calais Campbell, which a super chat person asked about. And by the way, that super chat comment was like, is there any truth to the rumors? I don't even know that there's reports about it. It just is more like people like Jeff who are looking around the league at who is a bad team so far based off of their record and the needs that the Ravens have. And plus he reaches out to his guys within the Athletic kind of database, all the guys that report, and they can let Jeff know, okay, who's realistic, who's not, this and that. So he's got Calais Campbell, defensive end he's with the Cardinals right now. Then he's got 2 from the Jets who are both kind of edge. You can either go with Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald, both edge rushers. Then there's Jalen Phillips, edge rusher from the Dolphins. And then he's got Kevin Zeitler, a guard from the Titans. What name do you want to address first?
Probably just number 1 on the list because I think they had interest based on reports in Calais this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, like and then Miami nixed it. Mike McDaniel, I think the report was that he nixed it. So Cole was funny last night. He's like, I want to beat the brakes off the Dolphins because we needed him last year and we need him now. That's what he
Yeah.
said. And he's right. They need him. They could use him. He's 39 years old. He's on the back nine of his career. He's still playing at a high level. You forget the special teams impact that he has too, given the frame, Sarah, given the basketball type of stature. What's he stand? 6'8", something insane like
He's
that.
tall.
So, 93. Is he an every down player? No. He's good against the run. He's a phenomenal locker room leader. He's got such a pulse for this game. He's a future Hall of Famer, and it's a darn shame. Since leaving Baltimore several years ago, he really hasn't had a legit chance to go and compete for championships. And that's the one thing that he's missing on his resume. And I have no idea whether or not Baltimore is the spot to be, Sarah, based on that, because of where they stand right now. They got a lot of work to do. But I sure as heck know that it's probably a better chance than it is in Arizona at the moment. And he's a Cardinal, as you've mentioned. So it starts with Calais, but it can't end there. Right? It cannot end there. You need more. And knowing that he is 39 and knowing that it wouldn't necessarily cost a haul or require a haul, I think for starters, that's where you begin.
Yeah. So this is interesting to me. Calais has at 39, like it's one thing to be a quarterback and still playing at 39, but you're in the trenches. And you're in these basically car crashes every single time they say hike. That's crazy to me. And he's got 3 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. Where exactly would that fall among the Ravens' top sack getters? It would lead them. Still, the top 2 sack leaders are the 2 injured players, Nnamdi Madubuike and Tavius Robinson. So he would lead the team with sacks. I don't have a stat here for quarterback hits, so I don't know where he would fall in there. But, he's somebody that's reliable. He's somebody that's going to get the job done. I don't know if he's going to blow up plays like he did in his prime. But Calais Campbell knows Baltimore. They know each other. It could be a quick reacclimating if he were to come.
I got
Bobby,
your pressure count.
Oh, you got it? Let me know. I had quarterback hits, by the way. You had pressures.
I'm sorry. You were looking for quarterback hits?
Yeah.
Sorry. I got tackles, sacks, and pressures. You've already mentioned all those. Well, maybe not tackles. 14 total tackles.
Okay. 14.
So the point is,
yeah,
he's a presence. Yes, he's soon to be 40, but it's a player that would help right away, that understands the system. I know it's slightly different than the one that he was running with Mike McDonald. He wants to compete for championships, although the last couple of years. Now, granted, maybe there was some nostalgia added in here because, again, his career began in Arizona. Maybe he wanted to fairy tale type story end to his career, but you're not winning championships there. You're not winning championships in Miami. And the jury's still out on whether or not the Ravens have a chance to compete for a championship this year. But he certainly would help them go do so and try to turn this thing around in epic fashion.
Absolutely. All right. So the other name that, just because I feel like the guard position has been so terrible, I'm here for Kevin Zeitler. Like, again, none of these guys are like world beaters, but I know it's the right player in right place. I just don't believe that they would let him go. Even if your season is going poorly, you still have to protect your quarterback. And so I just feel like unless you have a plethora of offensive linemen, which almost nobody does, nobody does. Like, I just don't see that one happening. So,
Tennessee hasn't exactly been receptive to being a will and trade partner in the past with the Ravens now, have they?
We know what went down with Derrick Henry. At least we think we know. McDonald over the Jets. He had 10.5 sacks last season. 3 so far this year. Again, it would be more than what the Ravens, any of their sack leaders have. He's only in his mid-20s. He's only under contract for 1 more year. So, it would be somebody that, if you wanted to extend, if you felt like you did a good job, there's that. So these aren't necessarily like world beaters. These aren't ones that are going to like, oh my gosh, we just got Micah Parsons. This changes everything. It's more, we need reliable, solid guys for the right price. That's what this is.
Kevin has not been replaced.
No.
They have not replaced. And you're much more patient and understanding of not being able to replace the great Marshall Yanda. And this has nothing to do. This is no disrespect to Kevin Zeitler whatsoever, but he's not Marshall Yanda. But he was darn good. He was darn durable. He was tough. He was good in pass pro. He was good at moving bodies in the run game. And he was a do-it-all dude in terms of a no-nonsense, no bullshit, to use the new phrase, I guess, right? He's that guy.
Yeah.
Sarah, his wife, is beloved in Baltimore. They have not successfully replaced him. And I have no idea whether or not they're going to have a chance to bring him back, to your point a minute ago, given Tennessee and their structure of how they do business. But he would help immediately.
He'd be an immediate upgrade over Daniel Fa'alele for sure. Or on the other side, but he's more of a right. He was at least played right guard in Baltimore. Okay. Then Jeff has a list of 5 guys under the heading called "Enough of an Upgrade?" ? So we've got Deonte Banks, cornerback for Giants. Matt Judon, obviously we know who he is with the Dolphins. Arden Key, an edge rusher for the Titans. Evan Neal, guard tackle for the Giants. And Azeez Ojulari, an edge for the Eagles. Anybody here stand out to you? Again, I think Jeff is saying out loud, hey, I don't know that these guys are really going to do much at all, but here's a list of guys that could be available.
Yeah, all I really have to comment is that, Judon was a healthy scratch a week ago for Miami for a reason. And then Ojulari, there was past interest on behalf of the Ravens, according to Jeff's reporting in this Athletic, latest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm with him. These guys fall under this category for a reason. But I know Azeez Ojulari, Sarah, could help them right away. I mean, is it a needle-moving acquisition? Maybe not, but they're just so thin. They're just so thin at edge. It's like anybody on this list that's an edge rusher would be an upgrade or help the thin nature of which they are right now.
Yeah, like my first reaction to this list is like, I don't know why there's a cornerback on here. Given that Jair Alexander isn't even an active cornerback on Sundays. I know Jeff is just saying like he's just got upside. It's to be like more of a long-term, hey, we need, cheaper up and coming guys. And so that wouldn't really do much this year. So obviously that doesn't stick out to me. But I do like Judon. I mean, I bet a ton of players would love to see his return. Like his energy. I know he has no sacks, only 1 quarterback hit. I don't know how much, like you said, he was not even active. He was a healthy scratch. So I don't know how much of an opportunity he's been given. Maybe guys are ahead of him there. So again, another guard tackle in there. I don't really trust the Titans again. We already talked about that for Arden Key. So this obviously slide doesn't move me much, but I wouldn't hate on a Matt Judon reunion.
And finally, the Keep Dreaming segment of Jeff's piece. And I encourage you to go check this out on The Athletic. I'll link to it in the live chat. It's a great piece done by Jeff. Takes a lot of time, too, because he covers the Ravens year round. He's got to check in on all these teams, by the way, that these players are members of. So, the Keep Dreaming section, Bradley Chubb, the Ravens are going to see him tomorrow night. Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Kayvon Thibodeau, Quinnen Williams, Logan Wilson is thrown in there just because he requested a trade within the last week or so from Cincinnati. And I feel like almost before we even dive into this, like Peter Schrager's tweet maybe applies in some cases here, maybe not to every single player listed.
Mm-hmm.
But Peter, covered the NFL for a long time. He says, a lesson I was taught years ago on the deadline. Unlike the NBA and MLB, viable big names aren't dangling on some imaginary list for weeks in advance. The notable big players that teams are calling on are being told no today. And that was yesterday, but also today as well. Cleveland's come out and talked about that as it relates to Myles Garrett. After Sunday, back to Peter's tweet, it picks up and teams bend. Will every single team bend? What you see on the screen here? Probably not. Vegas has been hell-bent that Crosby ain't going anywhere. But again, there's a reason why the Keep Dreaming section exists in Jeff's reporting.
Well, I would like to dream for a second here, okay? And I would like to dream about number 7 on this list. Defensive tackle out of the Jets, Quinnen Williams. This might be the biggest need. Obviously, we're unhappy with the guard position on offense, but there's like literally no bodies. They're like evaporating inside the interior defensive line. Like I said, with Nnamdi Madubuike and now Broderick Washington needing to have surgery. And so just knowing that there's been a little bit of smoke, there's been some talk around Quinnen Williams, Sports New York talking about that, you know what, maybe he could be had for a second rounder. And again, this could be long-term because I know there's a lot of money on his contract and the Ravens are for sure going to have to eat some stuff on Madubuike's contract if he indeed, I don't want to even put that in the air, but people have been asking, is it career ending? If it happens to be, then they're going to want to get another legit guy in there. Quinnen Williams could be that long-term guy. And maybe now is the right time to kind of strike because it sounds like he hasn't been playing as well as in the past, but we know his talent. We know what he's done. And would a fresh new scene be the jolt that he needs and get out of like this? I mean, the Ravens have a losing season right now, but the Jets are perpetually losing. So it feels like that one, like of all the dreams in here, could that one be the closest to being realized? Or is there one closer, Bobby?
Well, let's dig in further. Jordan Schultz just pulled up a clip spontaneously on this very topic. Quinnen Williams, here he is.
Okay.
Jets finally won a game, but that will not stop the calls from coming in inquiring about some of their very valuable players. Now, there are a number of teams who badly want and need interior defensive line help, and a name that's garnered a ton of interest, all-pro defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. Now, the Jets don't want to trade him, but they are willing to listen, considering there's so much interest in interior defensive line and so many young, aggressive GMs around the league. The idea of a team blowing away the Jets with an offer is at least feasible and one to watch.
Okay. If there's competition, that actually makes me more nervous. Like Eric DeCosta and the Ravens usually pull out a trade that nobody even knew was on the radar. This one, everybody's talking about. So like if there's competition for him, is there going to be another GM that's willing to outbid Eric DeCosta? Like I'm here for a second rounder. The Ravens track record with second rounders haven't been the best. Hopefully Mike Green turns that tide. Seems to be trending in the right direction. But they did that with Roquan Smith. And who knows what that second round pick would have been. But they've had plenty of busts or just single hits with their second rounders. Like to me, it'd be worth it. But is there going to be another GM out there that says, oh, well, I'll give you more than a second rounder? Like I'll give you, maybe it's not a first, maybe a second and a third, something like that, a second and a fourth. I don't know. I don't like the Ravens in a bidding contest. I'll tell you that.
No. And Jabbo, I think Jabbo's point in the live chat stands.
Mm-hmm.
None of this, with the exception of maybe a player that they have in mind could be extension eligible and they want in their program for the coming years. So aside from that, that's the one exception to what Jabbo is said, and I'm about to say what he said. None of this matters if they don't get a W tomorrow night.
Yep.
So that's that. Thanks to Jeff Zaribek for the inspo, who, by the way, just landed in Miami. He's going to be covering, of course, as he always does, Ravens Dolphins, as will we be tomorrow night, Hard Rock Stadium, inside the vault. Pregame coverage on my channel starts at 7. Sarah and I will start, hopefully, before midnight. Okay. Shall we get some more super chats?
Yeah. And some quick hits.
And quick hits and then on out of here. Let's see. We left off with EB. Oh, we're fully caught up. Okay. To quick hits we go.
Okay.
And you brought this one in.
Yeah, no, the Ravens posted this yesterday. They lead the league. They're tied with the most big play touchdowns, meaning touchdowns that were scored from 20 yards or beyond. So, and then they use this sweet picture of DeAndre Hopkins. I still don't know how he caught that. The way he just got underneath this defender got that ball in the end zone. Woo, every game, he's good for a clutch reception.
Does anybody quite know how to manipulate defenders at the catch point? Quite like that guy.
I don't know. He
Is
doesn't.
just so freaking fun to watch the way that he just, I'm telling you, like the separation doesn't even have to be there. And he's finding a way to track that football. It's exceptional. You also brought this one in from Kalshi.
Kalshi's back. Look at this. They got a nice little graph here of football playoff qualifiers. And they're showing the trends of different teams. And the Ravens, boy, did they dip. Look at the Ravens in purple. And then all of a sudden, it's starting to come up again. The Ravens' playoff chances have now surged 59%. And they've responded a bit to Lamar being at podium, Lamar saying he's playing. It's the anticipated return. And that's helped surge the Ravens to almost a 60% chance of making the playoffs now.
Nice. That number's going to keep going up.
Vegas loves Lamar. They believe in him.
If they dominate over this 5-week stretch, I can only imagine what the analytics will look like in a month from now. I'm going to go ahead and big screen this one. We've used J.R. Fortgang stuff before. I thought I'd throw it in. Why not? It's 2025 cornerback separation prevented and on-ball grade. It's a minimum of 150 primary coverage snaps. And as J.R. Fortgang tweeted, on all routes, how well corners have prevented separation. The scale is -2 to +2, and their grade at the catch point. I'm sorry I didn't give circles. I'll try to describe where everybody is that's either a former Raven or a current Raven. Marlon Humphrey finds himself in the middle of this screen. You see him just to the right of the dotted line, just below Christian Benford and above Jack Jones. Nate Wiggins. Where's Nate?
I see him.
Where's Nate?
He's to the left of the vertical red line.
Yeah, not where you want to be. Nate finds himself below Jordan Lewis, above Kayshawn Nixon, and again, to the left of the red dotted line. Brandon Stevens certainly helps. By the way, Sarah, this goes back to yesterday. We were talking about the PFF grades and whatnot, and Brandon playing really, really well so far for a really struggling.
Well, since week 4 it was that he was playing really well.
Just like a really struggling defense, obviously, they're 1-7. But look at Sauce. Look at where Sauce Gardner is.
Woo!
Way out in front of the pack, at least in terms of what's the X and the Y axis again? Help me out here. What is Y vertical?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So well out in front in terms of raw PFF on-ball grade is Sauce. Or excuse me. No, he's well out in front of the pack. I mean, on most things he is.
Yes.
DJ Turner is the top rated in terms of on-ball grading.
Right.
And then Sauce is your on the X-axis, the raw PFF separation prevented top corner. Anyway, Brandon Stevens finds himself on the right side, and the right side, if you will,
the correct side
of that red dot, the right side of the red dotted line. And I think a lot of that has to do with, one, give the player credit, but it's also clean living when you're playing opposite Sauce Gardner, who's the top corner in the game.
So just looking at Nate a little bit more. So he's on the correct side for the on-ball grade and the wrong side of the separation prevented. And that we've known that like Nate has relied on his closing speed. He'll give a little space. Yeah. And then when the ball's in the air, that's when he has closing speed. So that's what the Ravens have been trying to get him to rely less on that closing speed and, stick with or prevent that separation sooner in the routes. But at some point, right, speed goes away. And so hopefully over the years, he will be better at not letting them get separation.
Heck, even over the instincts, the recovery speed might be his greatest strength. Mm-hmm. And the guy is just so talented at recovery, closing, as you referred to it. And then obviously we saw the instincts on full display, having a short memory. Maybe actually having a short memory could be his greatest strength, because as we saw, Rome Odunze was having his way. And what did Nate do? Flip the entire game, jump in that route, surefire pair of hands there, intercepts Caleb Williams, puts this guy in a position to score. Your final quick hit.
I actually have 2 more because I have a video. This one is hilarious to me. The Ravens put up a picture of Charlie Kolar post game in the locker room, and he's cheering. He's got a fist up in the air. And then look at T. Martin like, what? That's just the face is priceless. And who is that also that's like looking at him kind of funny? Who's that guy just looking at him like, what are
That
you
is
doing?
T. That's Coach T.
No. Not T. Martin. To the right of T. Martin. With the backwards hat.
Let's go big screen. Hold on.
He looks like he's annoyed.
That is. Is that Malik? That's not Malachi, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think he'd be all dressed like that. He'd still be in his uniform, you'd think. Anyway.
You know what? That's probably staff. That's all staff over there to the left.
Could be staff.
Charlie's left, our right. It looks like it's all staff. So
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know his name.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But just look at their faces at Charlie. So then Cole Jackson zooms in on it, and he pretends that Kolar's yelling, Emory Jones is taking reps as an offensive guard. And then he pulls in T's reaction, and he's like, this is me. Just completely enthralled with what he just had to say. Just astounded. Astounded.
It's freaking guys in Photoshop all day. Yeah, that Canadian government employee, he's all fired up this week because of the Blue Jays and never misses a chance at making a meme, does he? Ever.
Nope.
Never, ever. Love you, Cole.
And then, Bobby, I thought I'd pull in Annie Agar, who does we all know him by now, her NFL meetings with I don't know if it's the commissioner, the NFL league meetings. And she just tells nonstop jokes about all the teams in the league and some of the things that went on. So here she is, and the Ravens are mentioned a few times.
This week we had a ton of blowouts. Some of you were so far away from the other team, it was like watching the Cowboys secondary. Look, in our defense... What defense? Trayvon Diggs was out, okay? He got concussed at home. Wow, he can't even tackle housework. All right, let's start with Vikings-Chargers. Minnesota, why was Carson Wentz still in the game? His arm was fine. The girl from Soul Surfer has better arms. Well, Jim Harbaugh said it was so good to see JJ again. Yes, I'm sure that'd be weird for some coaches. Luckily, Jim Harbaugh's used to seeing a Michigan guy on the other team's sideline. Speaking of Harbaugh's cheating, we're the Ravens. He did not cheat. You lied about Lamar practicing all week. You guys practice all week? This week, the Ravens removed anything from their locker room that did not help them win. Their ping pong table, their basketball hoop, Cooper Rush. Chicago, don't you have your own things to worry about? Like a kicker? Cairo Santos will be fine. Terry Rozier has a better field goal percentage, and he was trying to miss on purpose. Quick question, how does Caleb make the easy throws look hard? All right, you know what? You two stop bashing our quarterback. That's our job. Wow, Caleb losing to the 1-5 Ravens was the painted nail in the coffin. Moving on, one of the guys that robbed the Louvre was arrested. They're saying it's the biggest heist of the year. Clearly, they haven't met Kirk Cousins. Atlanta, you have Bijan Robinson and you refuse to run the ball. Even Arthur Smith knew he could use Bijan. Great condiment. I usually put it on sandwiches with just a little bit of mayo. Arthur? Raheem said that he could score. Yeah, well, I've seen Cousins score more in Alabama. You beat the Bills and Commanders and then lost to Mike Wazowski. Since when do we wear blue? Yeah, we need to poke his other eye out. I got you. Somebody get DK in here. Wow, his own tape was so ass, he got pink eye from it. Buffalo, while you're here, congratulations. James Cook was the second best player for the Bills. The first was Andy Dalton. Guys, we won a game. All right, it's one game. Will you act like you've been there before? We literally haven't. Okay, sorry. We just got out of a players-only defensive meeting. Surprised you could find the room. Get Zach in here. Yeah, Zach, it is 2nd and 10. What do? Run it up the middle. Okay, then why did you pass it 3 straight times up 6? I couldn't do it 4 straight times. Your IQ is so low, Dylan Gabriel couldn't even walk under it. Guys, Myles Garrett did have 5 sacks. Was he sacking his own quarterback? Well, we are really sorry. Wow, you know what? To honor them, we are going to say your chant. Wow, that is really mature, New York. R-E-F-E-R-E-E, Eagles! You're telling me that wasn't the worst officiated game you've ever seen. Clear fumble on the tush push. Look, okay, the NFL does not have a gambling problem. That reminds me, use code Chauncey Billups to get 20% off your first parlay. Also, we had to stay up late Monday night to watch the most hated team probably win it all again this year. The Dodgers? No, the Chiefs. One more thing, Brian Kelly did get fired. He's the worst person ever. Apparently, he was eating burnt ends at a recruit's house when he'd already accepted the LSU job. And I thought Mike Tomlin was the only coach that had burnt ends.
So the Ravens one's in there. Bears saying that the Ravens cheated with the injury report for his practice injury report. New Orleans saying, you guys practiced? And then she says they get rid of the ping pong table, basketball hoop, and and Cooper Rush, everything that doesn't help us win. So there's your Ravens ones there. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe.
Not to mention, she took a shot at Caleb Williams because he paints his nails there. I don't know if you caught that one.
I did not catch that one. No, but the one at the end where she's like, the NFL does not have a gambling problem. Use code word Chauncey Billups.
Yeah.
For your next thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That NBA investigation. Well, that's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. But I mean, look, it's not my style for humor, but the amount of time that goes into that through the roof.
Imagine.
I mean, through the roof. And the fact that she went stupid viral and built this entire thing because of the pandemic, essentially, is incredible what she's done. I mean,
so she built this in the pandemic.
I think that's what it was, because it was virtual. She used to put teams in uncomfortable Zoom meetings. And so I'd have to think that stems from a lot of the strange protocol that was there in place during the pandemic. And so I've actually seen her a lot of the NFL offseason events that sometimes we and I go to.
She's everywhere.
So for her to have built this from scratch, I got a ton of respect for just her creativity and the way that the time that goes. It's, covering a league is one thing, and then trying to keep up with 32 teams and their inside jokes and their drama and their fun ways of getting after each other. I mean, that's a heck of a skill.
And record that, all those different, and then edit it together. I'm sure she's got a team to help, but
yeah, it's impressive, very impressive. Patrons, Dion Coleman and Lisa Schaffner, you guys have been with us forever, literally from the jump since we started providing Patreon here and offering Patreon, I should say. So thank you guys. And this is your monthly shout out. If you're interested out there as well, you can do so and get more involved in the channel by visiting patreon.com/RavensVault podcasts. Partner, appreciate you. Great Wednesday show. We will have a show, as we always do, on primetime weekdays, which is tomorrow. So 12 noon. There will not be a pullout at 4 o'clock, but there will be today. I'll have pregame coverage starting up at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. You and I will be live for postgame, as always, once press conferences wrap up late tomorrow night in Miami. So thanks to Wellness Plus Care for the continued support. If you'd like to show them your support and get support maybe for your health and wellness, go click on the link included in the show notes. There's also one in the pinned comment. And again, we want to say thank you to all of you that do not catch us in real time, whether it be the audio only folks, whether it be those that just can't catch us live. We appreciate you just as much as we appreciate our live chat at this current moment in time. So for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Wednesday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. If you could on the way out, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And as always, you can visit thevaultpod.com/shop. If you're interested in checking out the apparel line on our way out, Eric Hill, on top of what he's already done in generous fashion as usual, has gifted 5 channel memberships. EH, you are the man. Enjoy yourself. I hope you're all having a great week. It's a short one, and we got football to talk about coming up tomorrow. Appreciate you, partner. And as always, Vaultrons, thank you for spending some time with us here inside the Vault.